It was one of those glassy, still water, morning sun rising, coffee hot in my palms, lake sparkling like it was in on a secret. Tranquil, reliable, and then the storm broke not from the heavens, but from the HOA president herself. Karen stormed down in an oversized sun hat, hand clenched around a thick folder of violations, barking orders like she owned the shoreline. She pushed a paper into my face and announced that I had 24 hours to leave my dock or pay serious fines. My dock! The one my own two hands built! I let her vent. I even grinned. Because within less than an hour, the tables would turn. The woman who was trying to steal my dock was soon going to witness her most valued item roll away, powerless, before the entire neighborhood. While she approached my dock, I was going to take her boat. My name is Jack. I'm 58, half retired, and for the first time in decades, I believed I had discovered real quiet, 35 years of construction, pennies in a jar. 2 kids raised on my sweat, and I purchased this little place along the lake. It wasn't grand, but it was mine. Every nail in that dock, every board plumb my sweat was in it. That dock wasn't lumber strung out over water. It was freedom. It was where I fished before sunrise, where I drank coffee and mist, where I showed my grandkids knots and skipped stones. If there was a front porch to life, that dock was it. I assumed the neighbors would be the icing on the cake, small town. Crystal water! People who waved and borrowed tools without fanfare. What I hadn't anticipated was the HOA, or, more specifically, Karen. You couldn't help but notice Karen. She would not let you. Mid-40s overdressed as always for a lakeside stroll, clipboard held aloft like a crown. Self-declared monarch of standards, voice boomed across the lake like a bullhorn. Paint your mailboxes slide off white color. She'd know before it was dry. Her house the largest was a catalog page that no one ever really inhabited, and in front of it sat her trophy. A shiny, huge boat that had no business being at our lake, let alone our quiet little community. She waxed that thing like a jewel, showboated it every weekend, and parked it a little too close to my dock as if claiming shadow space for herself. Life was simple before she had set her sights on me. Bob, next door, adored barbecuing. The Martins, a retired pair, contributed pies and fish gossip. No one checked your grass. No one, except Karen. Why was I her target? Easy. Autonomy. I don't genuflect. I obtained full county permits for the dock, complied with state regs to the letter, and passed inspection. But Karen, if it wasn't going through her clipboard, it went against community standards. I saw it in her eyes, that first day disdain crossed with challenge. She didn't want to repair potholes or upkeep the park. She wanted a project. Me? That evening, in my own home, with a bylaws binder, I began to read. Most people don't. I did. Docks! Boats! Shoreline usage! One sentence caught me. All watercraft must be registered with the HOA and state authorities. Unauthorized storage or docking of unregistered vessels is prohibited. Unregistered, Karen? Ms. Clipboard? It wasn't possible, but the scratch refused to go. Next morning, I went to the county clerk. Beige walls, fluorescent lights, weary clerks. I provided Karen's address. The clerk pecked on the keyboard, scrunched up her face, shook her head. No record under that name. She spun the monitor so I could read. My eyebrows almost exploded. If Karen's boat existed, it wasn't registered correctly. Back to the bylaws. Dock extensions are pre-approved by the board. I'd seen hers a party pad more pure than dock. With a party pad, I reviewed 5 years of minutes. Not a single vote for it. Then Bob shuffled over that evening as I worked on a reel. Jack, he whispered. Karen keeps her boat tied on HOA property, not her lot. Against Dominoes toppled. Unregistered vessel, illegal addition, personal storage on HOA property, the exact same trespasses. She hurled accusations at me over. She was waist-deep in them. I documented everything. Photos with measurements, timestamps of her boat cutting me off, screenshots of the county site, copies of minutes. Each page filed Esley into a binder that was closer to a case file than a hobby. The more I documented, the calmer the first became. Her power was intimidation. Mine would be proof. She sashayed by my spot that week, throwing a smirk. Enjoy your dock while you can have it, Jack. Clock's ticking. I tossed up a coffee cup. Hope your boat's registered, Karen. A small twitch broke her armor. Then she doubled down as bullies do when control is on the wane. There was a final notice jammed between porch boards. Eviction of dock structure. Immediate removal. Daily fines accrue. Eviction S. If my dock were trespassing, she put up posters for an emergency HOA session regarding non-compliance threats to property values. Everyone knew who she was targeting. I got there early. Binder clutched under my arm. The room hummed. Karen strode in, power red. She began to speak photographs, positioned to make my dock appear to. We cannot permit one homeowner to bring us down, she asserted, suggesting immediate legal action. Murmurs, a few applause. Old Bob spoke up. That dock's stronger than most bridges. She interrupted him. This is about order. That was my signal. I stood up. Striking you say rules, I began, voice calm, because I've been reading them. I held up my tabs. Bylaws state all watercraft must be registered with HOA and county. Your boat isn't on record. Gasps. I flipped pages. Dock extensions need approval of board. 5 years of Minnesno, vote for yours. Color climbed her cheeks. Irrelevant, she snapped. Not my dock. We are, I replied softly. Because everyone has rules. Or are there 2 different ones for you and the rest of us? The room changed. Her loyalists leaned forward, not knowing where the wind was going. For the first time, her confidence teetered. And then, knock, knock. 2 guys in polo shirts, ended with clipboards. Excuse us, we're here for the boat impound. The room fell silent. Karen stood up quickly. What? You can't. That boat is mine. One of the men showed her paperwork. Unregistered boat. HOA, Enforcement Authority. We're just doing our job. She turned to me, furious. I raised my coffee. You said rules count, Karen. I'm ensuring they apply equitably. A tide of neighbors came along as the tow crew trudged down to the water. Karen brought up the rear, heels sinking into sand, voice cracking. They hooked a shiny pride and joy, winched it up onto a trailer, rolled it away as she begged, then screamed, then threatened. The truck vanished down the road. I stood on my dock, sipping my coffee. She tried to evict me, I told the water. But tonight, it's her boat that's homeless. The community sighed. Folks patted my shoulder. Bob smiled. About time. And just like that, the queen had no throne. The next morning was different. I walked along my dock and the only sound I heard was water caressing the boards. No cackling voice. No condescending boat policing my shoreline. Word was out quickly. Some neighbors spoke like it was juicy gossip. Others spoke as if a curse had been lifted. Bob had come in with 2 beers and sat down next to me. 20 years. I've never seen anything like it, he said. You didn't win, you knocked the crown off clean. I shrugged. She loosened it herself. I just gave it a push. Strangers I barely knew paused to thank me. The Martins came with a pie, grateful they could install wind chimes without a ticket. Another family confessed she'd threatened to fine them for potted plants. The community felt freer. Karen did not disappear, not immediately. She made appeals, emergency meetings no one showed up for, letters no one opened. Without the aura of invincibility, she was just another noisy neighbor. The HOA board, sick of serving as her enforcers, issued a vote of no confidence. Spines were raised. The motion carried. In an instant, Karen was out no title, no clipboard powers, and a list of her own infractions to face. I hear she attempted to squirm out in court, but the law is unforgiving. You can't twist it forever. By the end of summer, her boat was still held. Her dock extension ticketed. Her reputation no polish could restore that shine. For me, life fell back into the routine I'd worked to gain. I reinforced part of my dock not because I had to, but because I chose to. Most nights saw me with a line in the water, listening as the lake turned golden. Sometimes the grandchildren hung their feet and had 100 questions. Sometimes it was me alone and the frogs, thankful for the peace. Every so often, I saw Karen passing by, head down, no clipboard in view. Power dissolves quickly once people understand that it never actually existed. I will not feign that I danced on her destruction. What I do rejoice about is the fact that bullies never get to win all the time. They get up on fear. Fear evaporates when someone calls their bluff. Karen attempted to steal what I created, what I worked for, what I cherished. She lost something she cherished most in the end, not merely a boat, but control of the community. I did not merely retain my dock. I regained my peace. If this taught me one thing, it's this. Silence emboldens bullies. Karen succeeded because people were exhausted, busy, or afraid to resist. But the moment anyone stood up with patience, preparation, and the rules in hand, the entire facade shattered. Strength isn't yelling Laritz, standing firm even when your knees tremble. Now it's your turn. Have you ever encountered a bully on your block? At the office? Somewhere? What did you do? Share your story in the comments. And if you liked this crazy HOA adventure, like, subscribe, and hang around because the next installment on this lake could be even greater.